Hi, I'm Angie Anderson. Welcome to another day of discovery. Today, we're at St. Paul's Lutheran Church on the corner of Spring-Hitsbury Avenue and South George Street. We're going to learn a little bit about the history of Boy Scouting in the city of York. But I'll tell you just a tiny bit about this church. This stately church has been here since 1939 after a fire destroyed an original church, which was where the immediate past City Hall at 50 West King Street stood. And this window is one of the only three things that remain from that fire that happened in the 1930s. But come with me and you'll meet Bill Banta, and he's going to tell us a little bit about Boy Scouts in New York City. Hi again. We're here today at St. Paul's Lutheran Church, and my guest is Bill Banta. We're going to be talking about York's oldest operating Boy Scout troop. I'd like to introduce you today to my guest, William Banta. Hi, Bill.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Fine.
It's really nice of you to invite us here. We're in the chapel and meeting room at St. Paul's, which is the home of the Boy Scout troop that you're going to tell us about today.
Yes, Boy Scout Troop 19.
Okay.
Started in 1918.
In 1918.
So it's 94 years old.
Wow, that's amazing. Can you tell me a little bit about how the troop got started, or maybe just a tiny bit about the history of Boy Scouting in general?
Well, the history of Boy Scouting in general was it started in 1910.
Okay.
When a man from Chicago, William Boyce, went to London and was introduced to a Boy Scout there, and then met Baden-Powell, and he brought stuff back and started scouting.
In the United States?
In the United States. And the earliest scouting here in York was about 1912. Mm-hmm. And the council, the organization of the troop, started in 1915.
Wow, that's fantastic. Many, many years later, 94 years later, you told me earlier, how many Eagle Scouts came from the troop that was at this church?
Troop 19 has had 77 Eagle Scouts. 77
Eagle Scouts. And maybe you'll tell everybody who's watching today a little bit about the Eagle Scout and what the merit of that particular honor is.
The Eagle Scout is the highest award that a Scout can earn. He has to show leadership. He has to do a major service project where he gives leadership to other people. And he has to earn a lot of badges to show his knowledge. In fact, one Eagle project is going to be worked on by a young man this weekend. He's rebuilding the softball field at York Catholic High School.
Wow, that's fantastic. And he's doing that by himself?
No, he has a group of people
but he's responsible to organize it and to make sure that it happens and to plan it and to work out all the details of it and to finish that project to earn his badge. Or is that called a badge?
Badge.
It's an Eagle Scout badge. So of all the projects that happened here in the 94-year history of Troop 19, why don't you tell me about an early community service project?
Okay, when the troop was started in 1918, it was during the First World War. And one of the projects they did was go around to all the poles, telephone line poles in the city, and pull the tacks out. And they pulled millions of tacks out, and they turned those in for scrap metal.
Now, when you say tacks, do you mean like thumbtacks kind of thing?
Little tacks that they nailed the
posters and things to. So they came along to all the telephone poles during that period of time, and they took them out, and what did they do with them?
They turned them in for scrap metal.
Because we needed metal for the war.
And the Scouts over in Adams County, where they grow peaches, collected all the peach pits, which were turned in to make charcoal for the gas mask.
Who would ever know that history if you weren't here to tell it?
But I think it was interesting what they did. They sold war bonds, stamps. In 1918 and 19, the Boy Scouts were very active doing that.
And then there's a name that many people who are from York, and probably people who aren't from York know anyway, and that would be Francis Farquhar. And he was also a founder, a founding father of the Scouting movement in York. He went to Yale and graduated at the age of 19. I just read this before I came here. And he then, when he went to Yale and graduated in 19, he went to law school. After he finished law school, he was practiced as a lawyer and then came back to York, right?
Yeah.
And his father was an industrialist, and he came back and joined his father's organization and became a civic leader, again, using some of his Boy Scout skills and all the things that he would have learned and how he would have participated as a scout, and did great things for the city of York.
Yes, and he was one of the first leaders of the Boy Scouts in York, and was active for many years.
And today, near the Avenues neighborhood of our city, we have a beautiful park called Farquhar Park, and it was named after the Farquhar family, including Francis, right?
Yes.
So we're getting a really good history lesson here today. You told me some recent history. You said that in 1918, the young boys went around and collected metal for the war effort, but as recently as Mayor Kim Bracey's inaugural, the Scouts also helped with that. What did they do there?
They provided the color guard for the flag ceremony.
They did, and you said it was a really cold day.
It was a very cold, wintry day.
But the Scouts are prepared for everything,
That's
so
right.
it wasn't a big deal, right?
They had their heavy clothes on underneath their Scout shirts.
I bet they did. So we have a whole bunch of things here on the table that you've collected. You have quite an extensive archive that you keep. You're the official archivist for this troop.
Yes.
Tell me about a few of the things that you have here.
This is a cup.
It sure is a cup.
A loving cup. Mm-hmm. And in 1919, the Kiwanis Club of York, which itself had just started in 1917, had a contest for the various scout troops, and whichever scout troop won the most months competition got to keep the cup, and Troop 19 won that honor. Wow,
that's pretty amazing. So that's another piece of history for the troop. And then you have some, looks like you have some implements here that you know what to do with there. Tell me about that axe, because I think that's a nice...
This axe is the one that I got in 1950 when I became a Boy Scout, and I've used it ever since.
And how have you used it? What have you done with that axe?
We made a lot of fires using this axe, and recently at our Court of Honor, we cleaned it up and used the axe to cut the cake and serve it.
To celebrate the anniversary of the troop.
The anniversary of the troop.
So it's a multi-purpose axe you have there, and then some more things.
This is a copy of the original 1910 Boy Scout handbook, and this is the handbook that was when I joined the Scouts.
And that told you everything you needed to know.
64 years ago.
It told you everything you needed to know about scouting.
And then this is the newest one.
So it's a before and after of the scouting.
And this one is the first one printed in recycled paper.
Wow, so the Scouts are all about sustainability. Can you tell us a little bit about the Scouts and the Scouts Honor and some of the activities that the current Boy Scouts...
Well, the Boy Scouts do service projects. For instance, one of the big ones is the Scouting for Food drive in November.
And how does that work?
They put out flyers at various houses, and then they go around the next week and collect food and give it to food pantries, such as the food pantry we have here at St. Paul's.
And St. Paul's has an extensive food pantry, I understand.
Yeah, I worked in it yesterday, and there were 40 families came through.
And is that a weekly food pantry?
It's a weekly food pantry, but they only get to come once a month.
Each family or each group can come only once a month?
150 to 200 families are provided food through this pantry.
Each month?
Each month.
That's amazing. I bet you our viewers don't understand or realize how very much goes on behind the scenes at a church, but particularly when there's a Boy Scout troop that's affiliated with it that supports those efforts.
And we have the church has a yard sale in September each year, and all the proceeds from that go to Habitat for Humanity.
I have heard that, and I've heard I'm supposed to start collecting things collecting things so that, and then
anyone else that has stuff that they want to, that's good for a yard sale and they don't want to hold their own yard sale,
They can donate it to
Donate
the
it
church,
here,
and then the church will in turn sell it to people in the neighborhood, and then that money will go toward Habitat for Humanity, and they'll do some building in the city of York.
They're
correct?
They'll be building a new house in 2013.
Next year.
So we're collecting money towards that now.
Excellent. And so we're off on a different subject from scouting, but if somebody wanted to donate some things from their yard or their basement or their attic, how would they
During the week, they can just bring it down to the church.
bring it to the church and say, I'd like to donate this for
Yes.
the yard sale that happens in the end of September.
And we have a neighbor of ours who's moving to Florida. So all the stuff she doesn't want to move is going to be dumped in my house and then brought over here to the church for the yard sale.
Excellent, excellent. So you continue in all your day-to-day activities to emulate all the good qualities of a Boy Scout. How many years have you been a Scout?
64 years.
64 years. And have you traveled with the Scouts in your time?
I've traveled to Philmont Scout Ranch.
I don't know where that is.
It's in New Mexico. It's a 3-part operation. It was given by one of the oil founders as a camp to teach high adventure to boys.
What kind of high adventure?
It's outdoor hiking and other skills, and they have a training center, which I've attended, where leaders go out there for a week of training, and then it's a working ranch so that people can see what a ranch looks like.
Can you go zip lining?
They don't have zip lines there yet. But
Okay, well, that's something that I always wanted to do, but I guess I have a lot to learn before I climb up a ladder and go zip lining. Tell me what you think that the viewers of this show today would like to remember, what you would like for them to remember about the Troop 19 at St. Paul's Lutheran Church.
Well, Troop 19 is the oldest continuously operating troop. We started downtown when the church was downtown in 1918 at the location of the just recently vacated City Hall.
So that would be at 50 West King Street. St. Paul Lutheran Church was there at one point.
Was there until 1939 when an arsonist burned the church down. And so the church moved out here with 2 other churches.
And at that point, this corner of Spring-Itsbury Avenue and South George Street was probably like being out in the country compared to being in the direct downtown area.
It had housing, but it was quite a distance for people from downtown.
It was. And how far is it today? Only about 10 or 11 blocks.
Yeah.
But it was a long 10 or 11 blocks.
Well, one of the founder, Smith, that founded, one of the founders of the United States that signed the Declaration of Independence.
Yes.
His country estate was over where the middle school is.
And which middle school is that? Hannah-Penn.
Hannah-Penn was his country estate because it was so far out of the city.
So if you could call it an estate, it certainly wasn't a downtown townhouse.
But it was a farm that, and the house I lived in when I first moved here was on that property. Excellent. So I imagine that George Washington horse walked across my front yard.
That's pretty interesting. So you, Bill Banta, are a man that has a lot of information, and you're a sharer of history. And for the time that you've taken to put this together, and there's a small exhibit here in the church, I really appreciate it, and thank you. And we hope that maybe more of our viewers and their children will want to learn about scouting. And if they're interested in learning about scouting, particularly here with Troop 19, they could always call the church.
Call the church.
Mm-hmm. Do you know the church's telephone number?
No.
Okay. Well, what we'll do is we'll put it on the website. How's that?
Okay.
We'll put it on the postscript of the program here today.
My phone knows what it is.
Your phone. Okay. Well, thanks a lot. It was great to spend time with you today, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors in Boy Scouting here in York City.
Thank you very much.
Take care.